January 1st, 2024 was the day that Steamboat Willie entered public domain. That was also the same day this was announced. Hello one, hello all, welcome to WILIscredia. We're here to talk about a movie, and I don't really want to. So today we're covering The Mousetrap, or Mickey's Mousetrap, or The Mousetrap, one word. Depends on what time you're seeing this referenced and which lawsuit benefits which person. But it is a 2024 Canadian comedy horror film. The Wikipedia article states that it's a horror reimagining of Walt Disney's 1928 animated short Steamboat Willie. Something got lost in translation as far as that is concerned. Somebody watches Steamboat Willie. The plot follows a group of friends trapped inside an amusement arcade after it closes. They're being terrorized by a masked killer in a Mickey Mouse costume. The Wikipedia premise says, when a group of friends sneak into an amusement park after closing, they end up being trapped with a masked killer dressed as Mickey Mouse, who decides to play a game of his own, They Must Survive. So whoever's in charge of giving that synopsis, they should make any money that this film will make, because that is charitable, to say the very least. If you watch the movie, right off the bat, the kids don't sneak in to the amusement park. They rent it out, and it just so happens that one of their friends is an employee there, and my friends really know me well enough to make me work 3 hours extra. This movie is long with the common sense. This movie definitely wears a number of its influences on its sleeve and doesn't execute an homage to any of them quite well. The voice, the Mickey, the villain's voice it's got a very Jigsaw type feel to it, the way the character wants to play a game, and none of the ideas get hammered out really at all. It's got slasher vibes, very much so. Everything's half-baked. If this were not 80 minutes long, I would say it's a neat premise, a proof of concept for funding for this movie. Nothing is really executed with anything in mind. It feels to me like something that a film student who's like really, really a fan of the horror films and slashers of years past really wants to do something of their own and do a little bit of a twist on it. And it has the same student film, actually early student film energy that you would expect from something like that. Technically speaking, there's a lot to be desired. I would say that there are some things that just aren't achieved in this movie, like proper cinematography techniques. I would say that the thing that this film was trying to show as its strength is writing. There's a lot of confidence in the quote-unquote comedy angle of this, but the delivery of all of it is just not well achieved. The cinematography breaks the line at times. That could be the cinematography, it could be the editing. A lot of the editing or cinematography, it could be a lack of coverage. There are a lot of scenes and takes where you don't see the person who's speaking and it cuts off of them.
Alex, seriously, you're the best of us. You deserve the best party that we can throw.
Before they deliver a line, and you don't really see the person who's saying a line. Way too much a thing where it's not just an accident once or twice where somebody had an ADR line in there. Another reason why it feels like a writer's idea over anything is a lot of the whatever time is spent on this is kind of spent on like a Kevin Smith style approach to a horror movie. It's got a very tell don't show nature to it. Something I like about slasher movies is talking. Nothing in this movie is believable, and we'll just shrug it off and consider it a joke. It's not good enough. If I'm thinking about this 2 minutes into this movie and it feels like I could have done 4 or 5 different things with the project, you didn't think enough for it. I'm sorry. It's an absurd idea, and I guess that could be a defense for things, but it's still not good enough. If I presented this as a proof of concept, I would really be ready to be shot down. Call this what it is. It is only in your intrigue right now because of the Mickey Mouse aspect. And there is nothing to this movie that warrants the use of any of it. Guy watches Mickey Mouse after a hard day of work. Who the fuck has a shrine to Mickey Mouse and just after a long day of work at your amusement arcade decides to throw on a film print of Steamboat Willie in your theater with 18 seats in it? What even is that? Although he did have time to put his bootleg Ottawa Senators jersey on. So there's that. This movie doesn't care to explain you things, even though it is all talk, no show. Again, when they do decide to explain something, it is very, well, it's a joke. Everything is tell, don't show. There's so much exposition, and it's not even well-crafted exposition where you can sort of believe it. It's kind of, okay, if you're thinking about this, here, I'm going to say this thing. It feels like a comedian's notes or a comedian's punch-up to slasher film the first run-through or something. It's just not good enough. Feels like things that you would say with your buddies while you're watching a movie, and, you know, the absurdity of a slasher movie. And you say these things like, oh, why isn't this person smart? Why isn't that person banging this person? Because this one's attractive. And like all of the tropes that you have for slasher films, the explanation, just comedy. That's the only explanation. And none of it is believable because none of the performances feel like the way humans speak. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I still don't know how the stupid thing came to be. You drop some water on a plug while the film is playing, and then you have Steamboat Willie, who's tormenting an amusement park arcade thing, but he also wants to play games. But he's not really that serious about things. Also, he teleports. The film's also presented in this police station whodunit. We're speaking to someone that's made it, and there's an element of mystery to it, except I don't care. None of it is executed well at all. And they present you like this mystery angle, like, ooh, how did this thing come to be? And there's a line that...
Why? It's not nearly as interesting as how.
Man, I'll take your word for it, but I would have loved to have seen how interesting the story would have been, instead of just telling me that it's interesting. And just, I'll take your word for it. Teleporting Mickey. Awesome. The benefit of this movie is it's 80 minutes long. You don't have to travel to a theater to see it. It is currently available on VOD. You don't have to drive to your local arcade. You can keep it to yourself and watch it in the privacy of your own home. The film opens with a film crawl that is just a complete rip-off / reference to the Star Wars crawl, because Disney owns Lucasfilm, so Star Wars. Hey, remember Spaceballs? Anyway, here's a horror movie. Right off the bat, the opening shot of this Rebecca character is presented in this fashion that wants you to think that they're quite important, except everything about the arrangement, the layout of the people in that scene is just forever questioned, or at least by me. None of it visually pays off to any of the way that they're trying to tell you with the script. The script just feels like people reading lines. None of it is acted.
I said you prefer a strip club.
Any excuse to go to a strip club, right, Paul?
Hey, you were into it.
Is that keeping it a secret?
Like, that's the tippy top of the comedy of this movie. All of the exposition, none of it feels natural.
I'm sure you boys have heard of group dynamics. Those exist in groups of close friends, too.
Yeah, we know what that is.
Oh, thank God.
Actually, everything that's delivered in this movie, nothing feels natural.
Listen, I have had my eye on you for a while.
Aren't you with Jennifer right now?
Oh yeah, but that was then. This is now.
People's motivations just, I don't know if they're not there or they really weren't established well enough, but they just don't feel like they exist. And it's frustrating. If you take the Steamboat Willie element out of this movie probably still happens, but you just have like a Saw ripoff.
You're so silly. Ready or not, I'm coming to find you. You'll be in a better cell forever.
If your idea is, well, use something that people know, with all due respect, and I hate that movie, the opening 2 minutes of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, is far more creative and far more impressive than all of this movie. Yes, it was a bit cynical. It had a bit of a tired approach to it. Hey, we're going to capitalize on something and then swerve it. This is just empty. It's cynical and empty. It's just, all right, we'll get them here based on their interest in Mickey, but horror, and nothing of what we do will feel like top class. This could just be me, the way I would do something. If I were to get extra eyes on something that I know I wouldn't have otherwise, I would really try my best to win those people over or have my best effort put forward. This is none of that. It's just a shortcut using an IP that you know and recognize with a twist that appears to be in the moment right now. Everything is so shallow, so cynical, and so empty. If you spend 15 seconds thinking about anything that happens in this movie, nothing about it is natural to human beings. Nothing.
And don't forget to clock out, otherwise I don't pay you at all.
Yeah, we got it.
Like right off the bat, the Rebecca character who's detained starts telling them a story about something that she wasn't even there for. If that were the only problem, oh boy, I would really feel okay about this. That's part of the beginning after the minute Star Wars crawl telling you that this isn't Star Wars and please don't sue us, Disney. This suffers from fan film-itis, where there are far too many characters. This is probably a writing situation more than a direction issue, but there are far too many speaking characters. There are far too many scenes where there are 5, 6, 8 people in a shot and speaking and being wisecracky and joking and going back and forth, and everything's presented in a wide medium shot where, listen, I like wide angle lenses as much as the next guy, but putting multiple people on screen without the proper coverage and close-ups, you're banking a lot on those performances, and unfortunately none of them work. I don't want to know what the budget for this movie was. If it's anything over $5,000, I'm brutally disheartened. If you take the proper fan film etiquette and, kind of reserve yourself to what you have a budget for, less people, more punch, more power behind the actual idea, that would be a welcome change of pace. But there's far too many characters. This, again, it feels like a proof of concept that has no business putting this many people on screen, giving us this much exposition without paying it off. It's unfortunately amateur. I'm sorry. If you're going to have that much talking head comedy in your slasher movie, at least give us some coverage. And the amount of the 180 rule being snapped in this movie is just frustrating. It's not well thought out. None of this is well thought out, and it's very frustrating. And the fact that I'm talking about this right now is unfortunate. Congratulations, you've done your job. You got me to look at this thing because of your shallow and cynical view of horror fans, but this doesn't really have a redeeming quality to me. If this were film school and this were submitted, I wouldn't even, I don't know, the fact that the stuff is in focus, that might be something that I would give credit to. Some of the music is kind of good, but it's not appealing in any way, shape, or form. The story is just brutal, if you can call it that. The delivery of lines is brutal. Nothing really works. And it's unfortunate because it just feels like whatever creativity there is in the script, it's just lines delivered. If you want to waste time on this and think of the novel idea of Steamboat Willie in an arcade and chasing kids while playing a game, but also teleporting and like, if you're gonna accept a movie just telling you, don't worry about this, we're joking, I guess give it a shot, but I'm sorry, my pretentious ass wants something to feel like it matters. And if you're going to tell me that as a comedy, lean into it harder and let the tone feel like that. But this is just the closest thing to a cash grab, and I can't believe I would ever say that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey had a bit more going on to it, but there was creativity there. This is just shortcuts. The worst part of fan films is here in this horror comedy. I would not recommend this to anybody. What about you? Have you seen it? Comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Am I being too harsh? I'm curious to hear the horror fans that will stick up for this movie, because it's a neat perspective of a thing I never thought of, even though we had something and a sequel to that something last year. It's things like this that make me stress and strain about defending horror as a whole, because stuff like this very cynical, empty approach to filmmaking and an audience that would just accept this, it's not good enough. It's not even good enough for like a B-movie slasher. I put some effort into it, and maybe I'll give a bit more credit and or respect to the thing. You had rights to it on January 1st. It's been shot, edited, and up for everyone to watch by August 6th? No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's not crazy. A guy dressed as Mickey Mouse is killing us. Teleportation is still very much on the table.